Hey everybody, and welcome to A Counselor's World. Okay, so I didn't want to keep rambling on with the other topics that I did have saved for more videos because I want to be able to put out content here for you guys. So I quickly did just make up a school counselor tag, and if you're a school counselor and you see this video, feel free to do the tag. Do the tag. The questions are going to be down below so that you can refer to them, and I hope you guys enjoy this. So there are 10 questions, and hopefully everybody can apply. If you're a clinical mental health counselor, you can still do this, just instead of thinking school, think of private practice or under a company or whatever the case may be. So let's get right into the questions. Okay, so question 1 is desired grade level. High school, no doubt high school. I don't know why I've always been interested in working with the high school population. I think it's more because of the college and career readiness, but also just because of developmentally where they are or where they should be, and just being able to assist them in that aspect. Both my experiences in practicum and currently an internship are at the high school level, or was at the high school level and now is at the high school level. So that's really all I have experience with as far as school counselor role, but I've had experience in early child care, child education, all that good stuff up till 5th grade, working with populations up to 5th grade. So yeah, I mean, I've had a little bit substituting in a classroom, but as a school counselor, just high school. School size desired. Honestly, I don't want a too big school, but I don't want a crazy small school. Like, I don't want to have too many students on my caseload to the point where if they come in my office, I'm like, who are you? But at the same time, I don't want to have it so small that, like, I have to be the only counselor in there. You know what I mean? I'd prefer, like, another counselor, at least one other counselor, to be working with. So I'd say no more than 2,000, but I am willing to be in a school that's bigger than 2,000, of course, because there will be more counselors. So it's not like I'm actually going to have like 1,000 students, but a middle-sized school, like 1,000-ish, around there. Location size. So like I have a location for where I just want to be, like, just because I like it, which is down south. So like Atlanta, Houston, like I will go in a heartbeat. But as far as like wanting to be somewhere because a certain type of school is there or whatever, not really. I'm really open to like being in different areas just to learn what it's like to work with certain populations or students from certain parts of the world, if that makes sense to you all. Views on multiculturalism. Ooh. It's important. It's important. Anybody who thinks it's not important needs to reevaluate themselves and the profession that they're entering. It's really important to understand people in general, but for students, it's really important to understand different cultures that are included that make them who they are. And a culture is not just, oh, I'm African or I'm Black or, I'm white or anything like that. It's like, yes, I was born in America, but I speak other languages, and I grew up with my grandmother down south, but I moved up north when I was 13. So it's that. It's really what makes up a person. From language to location to people in their lives to messages that they've been getting while growing up. Lived experiences, all that makes up a person's culture. Views on intersectionality. Okay, so before I answer that, I really hope that everybody else's program is teaching them about intersectionality. Because when I first heard about this was a year ago, in my multicultural and diversity class. Shout out to Dr. Broder. I heard about it and I was just like, what is this? But the more I got to learn about it, I was like, whoa, like, it's so important. I'll probably like leave a description somewhere on the screen here so y'all can read it while hearing my response. But I feel like depending on who you are, your view on intersectionality is going to be different. Okay? What you think about a person is going to be different. And I feel like there's no way to talk about intersectionality without including oppression, racism, and stuff like that. That's really what makes it all up. So my view on it is I'm I'm down for it because it's important to think about various components, the same as multiculturalism. It's very important. And ignoring one aspect might throw you off completely in understanding somebody or seeing their point of view. And working with populations that are so diverse in various ways, that's just something we can't do. That's really something we can't do. Because then we look like and sound like we don't know anything, which might be true for some people, but I really feel like everybody should just take time out of their lives to learn about it. There's TED Talks on it. Go on YouTube, search it up. Go on Google, search it up. You'll find the lady who brought it to light, and you'll find so much on it. And I really think it's really important. It's really important. Like, multiculturalism and intersectionality, hand in hand, they're needed so much. Not just in the schools, not just with working with students. Anybody, okay? Anybody. So keep that in mind. My favorite experience thus far. Okay. That is a good one because I have a lot of experiences that I really enjoyed. But I'm going to say in my practicum experience, I created a small group or small groups. And it took me about 5 weeks from the time I created it and finished it out. Because we had about 15 different small groups, no more than 6 students. 6 was the largest group we had. And we were in a high school. So we were only able to meet with these students during lunch, or we would have to be forced to pull them out of class. And what I did was I created a sheet. I don't have a printed out copy, but I created a sheet for teachers to refer students. So when they were referring students, they were able to check off. I think I had about 12 different options to check off why they were referring the student based on the need for the small group. And in this experience, we had a lot of, I don't want to call it pushback, but I had, because it was my small group, I had a lot of just situations where students were like trying to understand why they were referred. You know, it's easy for a teacher to see a problem in a student and say this student needs help or somebody needs to come and observe this student. But when a student is now in this position where they feel like their teacher has an issue with them and was not able to confront them about it or talk about it within the classroom, but refer them out, I feel like the student gets really defensive. And a lot of students were like that. They were like, oh my gosh, like, why was I referred? You know, who referred me? This, that, and that. And I'm like, I'm not going to tell you who referred you. You can guess who referred you. That's up to you, but I'm not going to tell you. But a lot of students did end up figuring out what teacher referred them. And through that, we were able to really create good conversation on the issues that the teachers referred them to, and more issues that the students found was a problem in the classroom. But there was one particular student who I won't forget who enjoyed coming to the small groups. Like, he had no problem coming to the small groups, but he was one of the students who was like, if the teacher had a problem, he could have just told him. And he was really confused, like, the teacher has never brought it up to him that this was an issue or anything like that until he got to the small group. So through that, we were able to have a little bit of conversation, and the student now went back to the teacher and pretty much initiated that conversation himself. Like, why didn't you feel the need to call me outside the class and have the discussion first before referring me to the counselors? Once again, he had no issue coming to sessions, and even after the sessions, he was still coming to the counselor's office, but he felt like teacher-student interaction was just missing. So he was just blindsided, like it came out of nowhere. He's a good student. His grades were good, no complaints, no nothing, but it was just this one teacher, and he was like, he wished there was communication. So that is my most, what was the question again? That was my favorite experience thus far, because the student really had a lot of passion in just what he was doing and who he was and having good grades, which a lot of other students didn't have. You know, they saw the problem, we discussed it, and they just felt it was a way to get out of class, or, we would talk about something else, but he was really focused on fixing the issue so that there weren't no more issues. Mind you, he was a 9th grader. So for him to be able to think about it in that way shows a lot about just who he is, maybe the family he came from or the school he came from, and just what he thinks about himself and how he feels teachers and other faculty should address students in the building, which I agree with. My favorite theory, hold on. My favorite theory is person-centered. So my favorite theory is still person-centered. However, I did want to give you guys a better explanation as I'm editing compared to what I was actually saying in the video. So Carl Rogers created this theory, and pretty much the therapist is responsible for promoting an atmosphere where the client is actually going to move towards knowing more about themselves and finding themselves out through congruence, which is being real, being genuine, unconditional positive regard, which means we're actually caring and we're accepting everything they're saying and not judging them, and accurate empathic understanding, which means how we're showing empathy is correct and we're not just throwing it out there inappropriately or whenever we want. So person-centered, yes, it's still circled around the client and they are still leading the session, but the main point of it is that we're leading the client to find more about themselves, to become their true self. Where is my degree coming from? Like my school, Hopkins. If you watched video 1, I go to Hopkins in Baltimore, Maryland. My favorite class in my program and why. Okay, I'm going to say my favorite class in my program so far, well, I'm at the end, but I would say my multicultural and diversity class was my favorite. Mind you, our textbook was like this thick. I was not buying that. I rented an e-copy. It's too big to be carrying around. But besides that, like the content of the class and the information we got was very important. And like I said, that intersectionality piece was like, whoo, like it surprised me. Yeah, that was my favorite class. I liked my group class because we as counselors in training were able to conduct a group and sort of put ourselves out there instead of being the one facilitating the group and other people putting themselves out there. So it was good to like be in the shoes of our client and learn about how to facilitate that effectively. I liked my foundations of school counseling. No, that's not what it's called. My leadership class. Because as the name implies as well, it was all about school counselor leadership. And we were able to look at text that really focus on that in different viewpoints. And I think that's really important to just have like background knowledge of what you're getting into and people who have been leaders in the past so that you know what you're doing and not just based off how you want to do it. The last question is my most memorable assignment. Oh, wow. Okay. Sorry, one just came to mind. Okay, so my most memorable assignment and one of my favorite assignments last semester in the group counseling class, we were to pretty much create our own group proposal. So pretty much imagining we were either in a clinical setting or school, and we wanted to create a group in the school. Mine was teen pregnancy, and I chose teen pregnancy because I feel like that is one of the groups targeted in high school that really don't get much love. And I mean that is, there's a lot of stereotypes about teen pregnancies. There's a lot of biases from people in the school looking at those students. And all they get is either nurse checking in on them or get a group where everybody knows what it's for. So people already know why they're getting called out. And they don't really get too much help. And it's memorable because in my internship now, I think my first week or second week there, I found out that they have a teen pregnancy group there, not just the nurse calling students down, but an actual after school group. And like, I was so excited when I heard that. Like, y'all should have seen my face light up. I was like, wow, like I literally just did a proposal on that. So it's a whole proposal. I don't remember. It's long. It's really long with activities we would do, number of sessions, you know, all that. Like literally it's ready to be presented to a school principal. Like, here, I want to do this in the school. That is my most memorable assignment. And that's all the questions. It was kind of good to think about like what I've done, like classwork and stuff like that. I hope anybody else who does this not really challenge, does this tag, enjoys it. And yeah, I'm gonna catch you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching. Bye.